Okay, good afternoon everybody, and welcome to the OTR Flemish for Beginners 3.2 watt kilogram race. This is another test event which I'm trying. I'm having pretty much a lot of trouble with my system. I'm running on a new M1 Mac and it's absolutely awful. Wish I'd never changed from PC. But that being as it may, I have to just crack on and try and solve the issues. So that's why I'm streaming this afternoon. Looking at the frame rate that I'm getting, which is absolutely appalling, 22 frames a second. I don't expect this to be a very good stream. In fact, I might not even be able to cover the race if it's so bad. I don't know what the problem is. I just cannot sort it. I'm trying to stream and the M1 just will not handle. It'll handle gameplay, it'll handle streaming, it will not handle both. Whatever I try, if I try to put it into 720 and 30 frames a second, it still makes no difference. I still get absolutely awful gameplay, and I don't know what to do apart from selling the M1 Mac and going back to PC, which I'm very tempted to do, to be honest. I'm very demoralized, very much thinking about packing in this this broadcasting lark for myself and just doing broadcasts for other people, because this is just silly. But hey, I'll try. But look, just looking at, I mean, it just looks silly. I'm looking at the figures at my end. It must be something to do with RGT and the M1 Mac and incompatibility, because on my system it's showing 60 frames a second, 59, 60, and it's only showing very low CPU usage. I'm getting good kilobytes per second of over 12,000 upload, which, considering we've only got 15 meg, is pretty impressive. So I can only assume that this is a compatibility issue between the M1 Mac and RGT, because it never used to happen. I mean, I used to be able to run in Ultra on my PC, and that wasn't supposedly as powerful as this one is. So I wish I'd never changed from PC to Mac. And I'm sorry to complain, but I'm really at a loss now, because I've invested an awful lot of money into this and I just cannot get it working. We'll see what the gameplay is like. If it really is bad, then I'm going to quit out of the broadcast, because I can't see the point of trying to cover a race that the graphics are just not working in. But we'll see. I mean, if I can get one rider on the road in the front of the race, it might well open up a bit and improve. I've no viewers anyway watching my stream, which, considering I didn't advertise it, is not surprising. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'll keep an eye on my CPU and frame rate. Yeah, there you go, look. Absolutely awful. So, as we watch Durand going off the front. Okay, silly numbers being put out here by Durand. He does not belong in this race. He's calming down a bit now, but yeah, let's have a look at the rider behind him. I'll check on him. There's the group behind. You can see from the graphics, it's absolutely. I'm gonna change to the orbit cam, might as well. There we go. Gives me a slightly better view, as you can see. So let's check on that Durand fellow and see what results he's got on RGTDB. It's on the Leuven course. Okay, this will be the first time I've seen this course, so it'll be interesting. As I say, but looking at these graphics, I'm certainly not going to stay with it. I'm not prepared to put out a broadcast at this. Okay, Nicolas Durand, it's saying he's a new user, but he's definitely misconfigured. Looking at the figures I saw with him starting. Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's putting out like silly wattage, folks. This is not a 3.2 rider. I can state that categorically. He's doing 5 watt kilos and he's not going into threshold, which means that his FTP is well above. He's going into the red at 5.1, so his FTP is well above 3.2 allowed for this race. So it's not for me to call him out or disqualify him, but I suspect that Keith probably will do. And Keith should be riding somewhere in this event, somewhere at the back, just keeping an eye on it all. So let's follow the action with the riders behind, because this is where we're not going to focus on Durand at all now for the remainder of the race, because he's clearly above the limit. We've got Paul Nichols from OTR riding in this group. I can see, I think it's Paul Brady, Laurette. I mean, a lot of these riders we know, like Adrian Bennett from OTR. I think it's Clive Byham from OTR. I should know these names by now, but my memory. Obviously, I think it's Franz Erold. Ismet. Not a rider I'm overly familiar with. I have seen the name before. Obviously, we got Morgan, the Welshman. I can't remember your first name. I should do as well, because he's a regular rider as well. Graham is another regular. So all these are in this front group here are all riders which are pretty regular to the maybe not just this series, but certainly to racing on RGT. So you would expect them to stay together on this course for a little bit of time at least. I mean, it's a 30-kilometer course. Don't know exactly, because I didn't check it out, how many kilometers per lap it is. So maybe I'll keep an eye on the graphic. Or maybe it's just one circuit. I came to it very late, folks, the broadcast, so I didn't manage to check out the details beforehand, which is why there's no description in my YouTube feed. But this is really pretty poor in terms of performance and the graphics, for which I can only apologise. I don't know whether you're happy with this and whether to stay with it or what to do here, because it really is pretty awful to watch. Doesn't look too bad when you're with the things, but when you're looking at the, let's see if I can swing the camera around. So if I can get the camera around and overhead, and then we're not watching the scenery going past all the time. There we go, that's a little bit better. Still very glitchy, but a little bit better. I'm getting 29 frames per second in RGT, whereas on my PC, which wasn't as powerful as this, I was getting 60 and no stuttering like I'm getting now. So this is a little bit annoying. The fact it's not so much that, you know, I'm getting poor frame rates and everything else. I mean, that is annoying, but what's really annoying is I can't solve it. And I'm pretty tech savvy, but I've gone on the internet. I've tried to follow all the guides I can for setting up OBS with streaming, and people are reporting in Twitch and this lot that the streams are working okay with the new M1 Max. But with RGT, I just cannot get it to work. I'm just tearing my hair out because I've tried all kinds of settings and I just cannot. I'll just message. So this is where the real racing is. As I say, we're not even going to look at Durand up the front because it's pointless. Keith's already said he's going to disqualify him. So it looks like we've got fair racing here amongst these riders, which is nice to see. So I might well stay with this action, folks, and see how it goes. I mean, I know the broadcast is poor, but there are some racers here that will appreciate me recording it nonetheless. Because I don't think anybody else is covering this race today. So what I will do is I will write in the description apologies for the poor graphics. And at least we are able to cover the action to a certain extent. So hopefully, I mean, it might be, it might be an incompatibility with the Macs that can be sorted because there are other issues. And I was chatting with John, by the way, this morning on Messenger and discussing with him. I mean, for example, I can't change my wattage in the app at all, in terms of you should be able to hold down shift and the scroll wheel and change your wattage for the fake trainer, and I can't do that. The mouse wheel and shift doesn't work on the M1 Mac. I don't know if it works on Macs at all. It certainly works on PC, having spoken to Damon. So that's the way that you would normally adjust. What I've had to do is set my weight at 150 kilograms, and I'm only 63 in real life. So I've set my weight to 150 kilograms and I've set my power to 150 watts. And that gives me like 1 watt kilo, which means I'm not going to be interfering in the race at all. I'm somewhere off the back. But I shouldn't have to do that. I should be able to adjust my my output power within the app using the mouse and shift, and I can't. And that's just one of the bugs for the M1 Mac. The other is the keyboard and mouse. There's a 5 to 10 second delay between me moving the mouse or hitting the keyboard and it taking effect, and I have to try and allow for that. And what that basically means that is if I want to switch riders, I have to allow 10 seconds in order to do so. And I'll give you an example of that. You can see I press the mouse button there, the key there, and look how long it took before it took effect. So it's really difficult. Yesterday when I tried to cover a time trial, I just wasn't in time to cover the riders because of the delay. And even trying to anticipate it is an absolute nightmare. It's not so bad when you get a group like this. I can sort of like, well, in fact, I'm going to do so now because this group are all together, although Lloyd, as I say that I'm by him, are trying to make a run off the front. I'm going to have a look and see what's happening further down the field. And in order to do that, I have to page down. So I'm using the page down button to go through the field. But there's a huge delay. I mean, I'm telling you what I'm doing, but there's a huge delay in it happening. Although it does seem to be speeding up as I go towards the back end of the field. Now this is Group 2 on the road. This is rider number 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19, I think, and even 20. So we have got some riders, as you can see here, making up the chasing group. Because I'm having such difficulty, I'm not going to labour the point by going through all the riders' names. You can see them when I highlight them on the screen. I will call them out later on into the race. I think I will cover the whole race series. There's this one slope on it. As I say, I'm just looking at the graphic and wondering whether this is just the one loop. I think it is. I think it is just the one loop and not laps. So we'll see if we can find out. We see the Swedish rider Tordenlid. He's in no man's land at the moment. He's 50 odd meters from the group in front, and he's 60 odd meters in front of Gallagher chasing behind. But then you can see here they're on the climb, so that's why there's a bit of distance between them. But once they get over the climb, expect them to come back together. As you can see, is it Darren Day from OTR? The Belgian Vermouth, the Dutchman Van Haren. He's a regular rider that we see on these events. Sorry about the trees, folks. Let's see if we can just swing. There we go. Swing it round a little bit. As I say, it does take a little bit of, although now that I'm showing individual riders, it is speeding up slightly the mouse. And here we've got the bots. So we'll tab down through the bots until we get to Bernstein, the American. Bernstein's wearing the crit jersey. Then we have the other bot, followed by Khalif. Now, I said last week we had a really good turnout. We got 42 riders in this race today. We had a really good turnout last week, and there was an awful lot of bots on the ride. And maybe, Keith, it's time to turn the bots off. Maybe you don't need them in this race now. You're getting good numbers. That's just a suggestion. I mean, by all means, leave them in. And there's Keith. He said he was going to ride at the back. He's only doing 1.7 watt kilos, 1.6. So Keith is more than happy to stay at the back and not get involved in the racing at all. He's just keeping an eye on things, which is nice. It's nice for him because Keith is over the 3.2 watt kilo. There I am. That's my bot. I'm using a virtual trainer at the moment, which is powered at 150 watts. A cadence of 70 and a weight of 150 kilos in order to get myself down to 1 watt kilo. So I quickly shift to the front, but I'm not going to watch Durand. We're not going to even bother with him. This group is staying together nicely. You can see Morgan from my team OTR doing a nice pull on the front, and then he's been overtaken by Adrian Bennett. In fact, OTR are really showing well in this event, and that's great to see. Well done, lads. And that's another one of the reasons why, although this is a really poor performance in terms of graphics, race coverage, that's one of the reasons why I want to cover it, because my teammates are out in force and they'll probably appreciate even the poor graphics at the end of the day. So it will eventually get sorted, and it'll get sorted in one of two ways. Either RGT will get it working with the newer Macs. Don't know how, or I will switch back to PC. But that would involve selling my whole setup at the moment, which, to be honest, is not really an option. So what I'm hoping is that I might even try, because I've been told that the M1 Max will run Windows software through Parallels desktop better than a lot of Windows PCs. And if I can do that and get, and then I would be able to run RGT through a Windows interface on the Mac using Parallels. And that might be the way to go. And because it's a free, not free, because you get a 30-day free trial, I think I will try that. I'll go on the forum, see if anybody else has bothered to do that. And that's possibly an option before Christmas. And then after Christmas, I'll just have to give it some thought on whether maybe I'll run a dual PC setup. I'll use my Mac for streaming and a PC for RGT, and have two running separately, but have one machine just for streaming. And that could possibly work. I've run the two PC setup before, but they were both PCs. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But here we're watching, who have we got on the front? Is it Dismeet? No, Lorette is pulling. In fact, no, we've got a rider up the road. Sorry, I missed him. Graham. Apologies, Graham. I think this is this Stuart? Stuart Graham? Anyway, he's off the front. And let's have a look. Is it Stuart? Just have a look in the rider list. I do keep notes, folks, so I should have the names of the riders, but sometimes they're not in my notepad, and sometimes if they sign up late, they don't appear in the list of riders. So I can't always find out the rider names for you. And in fact, I can't find Graham in the rider list, and he's not in my notepad. So, oh, I'm not having a good day, am I? I mean, he should be in. He's a rider I've seen before, so he should be in my notepad, but obviously he's not. Anyway, if anybody's listening and they can give me this lad's name, I think it's Stuart Graham, running off the front. He's running a tidy 3.2 watt kilos here, so he's putting in a bit of effort, but he is on the downhill slope. But that's good output for a downhill. So he's a pretty strong rider, obviously. Let's have a look at the riders behind. And again, I'm getting the keyboard error, folks, because I hit the keyboard there and it hasn't changed there at all. So there you saw. How long was that? Was that about 20 seconds? So you can see the issues I've got with the, it's not just me, and it's not my system. Well, then it's not my system. It's obviously an incompatibility issue between the new M1 Mac and RGT. And it's because the architecture on the new chips, the new M1 chips, is totally different. A lot of my apps that worked on my previous MacBook Air 15 will not work on the new Mac because of the new architecture. And I never thought about that before buying it, to be honest. Otherwise, I definitely would not have purchased it until they'd sorted out the issues with it. But you live and learn. You learn by well, you're supposed to learn by your mistakes, do we though? That's the question. And it does look like Let's go back to him. So let's go back up the front. And it does look like this lad on the front, Graham, has got a, 138 metre gap. And he's putting in a good performance here, but needs to be careful he doesn't go over the limit for the event, because he's very, very close to doing that. So we'll see what he'll probably end up getting a gap and then easing off to make sure he doesn't go over the 3.2 watt kilo limit. It's a tough call for an organizer like Keith, and Keith is a stand-up guy. He's, you know, he really is. The fact that he's prepared to come along and ride in his own events and not race them and ride at the back like he's doing tells you the character of Keith, which cannot be questioned. But he's got a very difficult decision to make with some riders, on whether to allow them into the race, whether to disqualify them when they are clearly over the watt kilos required. It's a thankless task. I mean, all I can do as a broadcaster is call out a rider who I know is obviously above the set watt kilos, and I'll certainly call out the ones that are cheating. And there are riders, and one rider in particular who won a pretty high profile event the other day, that uses an e-bike. Now, how do I know he used an e-bike? Well, that was pretty easy to spot, because you can spot an e-bike by the way that the power changes. It changes on the button presses on an e-bike, and I've tested this using my own. On the button presses on an e-bike, the power will go up by a set amount, and you only have to watch a rider for a certain amount of time to see that happening. So you can see the power jump from one to the other with the different presses. But also, if a rider presses his buttons and he goes into the red artificially, but his heart rate remains low or even drops, and in this case it did drop on 3 occasions. His heart rate, he went into the red, his heart rate dropped. That's a clear signal that he's using an e-bike on RGT. Now, I'm not going to name these riders. It's not for me to do that. But it does happen, and I know at least 2 riders on RGT that are using e-bikes in competitions. And it's not difficult to spot. I've actually tested using my own e-bike to get a feel for the different wattage changes and how it works and what the different button presses, i.e. the different levels, because my e-bike has 7 different levels on it. And I looked at the changes in wattages by using the different power levels. Some e-bikes only have 3, some have 5. I can actually limit mine. Now, I've never used my e-bike in a ride where there's been other riders. I've only ever done it in testing. Anyway, enough about that. It does look like Graham has made a significant jump off the front. He's now almost 400 meters up the road. And as I say, I think certainly if he keeps up this pace, he will be disqualified, because he'll be well over the 3.2 watt kilos for the race. Now, sometimes riders are, and this is a good race for covering for this fact. Sometimes riders will do it intentionally. Sometimes it's not done intentionally. Sometimes a rider is above the required watt kilos, and it's because his system is misconfigured. They don't realize that they are misconfigured, or they're a new rider to RGT and they haven't properly set everything up. So yeah. So I think this is where, for me, this is where the race is exciting, where the race is happening, and we could end up with a sprint between this small group here. But we're going to have a look at the lesser riders. Well, I'm saying lesser riders, the riders that have been dropped further down the field. As you can have a look at this group here. How many we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. So 7 riders in this group. Let's have a look at the ones that have been dropped off the back then. So here you got Adrian Bennett has been dropped. He's 390 meters behind, putting in a good effort, but he's going to need some help if he's going to close that gap. You got Dolphin. He's slowly easing up to Adrian. So if he can get, well, I'm saying Adrian looks to be holding him. But if Dolphin could join Adrian and them work together, the possibility of pulling back a few meters. But it's a tough act. As we watch 2 riders here, Paul Nichols, he's been dropped as well. He's a bit of a surprise, but Paul now may well sit with Shax for a little while and work together. Yeah, and in fact, yeah, Shax is actually messaging Paul to say work with me. So, and Paul was acknowledged by saying cheers. So yeah, nice. Nice. I mean, it's good when riders decide to work together, because when you're further down the field, there's no real sense in riding on your own unless you're clearly stronger than the riders around you. And here they go. These riders are catching, so it would make perfect sense. There's Master going past. Apologies again for the glitchy graphics, folks. I've explained earlier in the broadcast, if you're just coming into the broadcast, why it's like this and what's going on. So listen to the first part of my broadcast and you'll know why. Absolute pants, nothing I can do about it at this moment in time. I'm covering the race purely and simply because I want to give my teammates something to look back on after the end of the race. Poor Paul looks to be struggling. Don't know whether he's a strong enough rider, so it might be having a bit of an off day, might be having issues, or might just be tired. I mean, my whole household is full of colds and sickness, and we've been like this for 2 weeks and more. I'm certainly off it myself. And here we've got the rest of the OTR crew, Blackmore and Day, and they're riding with RF. I don't know RF's real name, but it's Derek Day, and I think is it Stuart Blackmore or is it Stephen? Yeah. Van Haren, the Dutchman. And we've still got 41 riders online, so it's good to see that riders are sticking with it towards the back end, which is why I like to work my way through and highlight the riders, show them all on the roads. Like I say, apologies for the appalling graphics. This is not my normal state of affairs. I'm usually pretty proud of my broadcasts, but I just cannot find a solution at this moment in time for the M1 Mac and RGT. They just don't work well together. And it's not down to processing power, because the M1 Mac is phenomenal. It runs other games. It's funny because it's only RGT that struggles with it. You look at the users on Twitch using M1 Max, they're getting 120, 140 frames a second. I get 144 frames a second in games like Call of Duty. So it is definitely an RGT M1 Mac issue, and it's probably because the code isn't optimized or sorted yet. I mean, there are a lot of apps that just will not work on my new M1 Mac. So that because they've just not been optimized to work with the new architecture. And here's Keith right at the back. Well, no, he's not right at the back. We got Monia, the lady, just behind him. Now, Keith will probably drop and wait for Monia and ride together. Hope Keith's listening to the broadcast anyway, but let's go back to the front. Well, we're not going to even waste any time with Durand. But Graham has now pulled out a 530 metre gap and he's still putting in. Yeah, I'm sorry, Graham, but you don't belong in this event. That is pretty clear. And in fact, yeah, he's slowing down now. I don't know whether he's listening to me, but you know, the watt kilos this guy is putting out, and if you look at when his watt kilos actually go red, you can see that he doesn't belong in a 3.2 watt kilo event, clearly. But that's not for me to decide. That's for Keith Atkinson, the Atchison, the commissar or the race organizer. So, in reality, folks, Laurette is the true leader on the road. In my opinion, this is just in my opinion. So we had 2 riders disqualified from this event last week. I wonder, we've definitely got one because Keith's already announced he's disqualified Durand. So we'll have to wait and see. And it would be nice if this did come down to a sprint between these strong riders that are making up this front group, of which how many have we got now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 6 riders, haven't we? No, 7. Still 7 riders. So this is nice. This is going to make for a nice finish with 9.8 kilometers remaining. It's a fast race. They're going to finish about 45 minutes, give or take. So that's a pretty fast race, folks. For what would it be? A 30 kilo? Yeah, that's not bad. 45 minutes for 30 kilometers. Now Ziegler, the German, I've seen him before, but don't know too much about him. How strong he is. Laurette is a strong rider and looking good as well. Notice how he's taking advantage of the drafting. He's riding smart. He's doing his turn on the front, but then he's getting in the ideal place for drafting. His numbers are going red, not because he's going into FTP, but because he's of the braking effect from drafting. But he's still saving 80 watts. So he's a canny rider, clever riding from Laurette. And look, he's just staying there, folks, in the middle of the pack. And that tells you that he's very racecraft orientated, knows his stuff. I like to watch races that have got a bit of nous. You know, that are smart when it comes to these kind of races. The way they handle them. There you are, he's going to the front now. He'll do his turn. But for my money, he looks to be one of the better riders in this group and one of the most race savvy as well. Having said that, you know, my teammates, Morgan and Byam are no slouchers, and 2 OTR in this group, that could be significant as we come closer into the finish. So we're going to stick with this action for the time being. We'll have a quick look back in a few minutes at what's happening behind, but just want to. I'm watching Angela as well, and doesn't seem as adept at... having said that, he's got into a lovely position now. Okay, we'll leave this group for the time being, then we'll have another look at them. And see whether the 7 riders managed to stay together. So we'll go back. We've got Adrian. He's now out on his own in the middle. He's not going to get back. I don't know whether he's had an issue or whether he's just... Because he's certainly a strong enough rider. I am surprised to see him drop by the group. So I don't know whether he had a drop out or a puncture or whatever. A bit of a surprise to me to see him dropped. And then this is really Group 2 on the road. We've got another 7 riders here, making up Group 2, because obviously Adrian's in the middle. And these are riding well together. They look to be swapping turns on the front, pushing the pace along the man that's on the front. So yeah, riding nicely together. Although I think they do need to coordinate a little better. Take it in turns. Push the pace on the front, take it in turns. Do a short turn, short, hard turn. Pull back some of the distance, but they're okay, but we'll have a look behind. So Gazdag is another rider in no man's land. He's between like that group that we were just looking at, and we got Nichols behind, Paul Nichols. Now Paul's the one that does a lot. I don't think he's done this particular road. I could have done, I'm not sure, but I don't think this is one of Paul's. But Paul's well known for his magic roads, and particular, he did all the Tour du Alps ones. He's an absolute magician when it comes to the magic roads. So, and we keep in regular contact. And another 2 of my OTR teammates, Blackmore and Day. And these 3 have been riding together as well. So the work, look, they're doing nice short turns, working nicely together. It does look like Blackmore's possibly the strongest of these 3. Looking at the pull he's doing, although Derek then automatically surges to the front to catch, because there's a rider just, I think, in front of them that they're trying to latch onto. So we'd have 3 OTR riders. In fact, we'll stay with this action because we're going to get 3 OTR riders all working together. Let's just see if I can swing the camera a little bit better. There we go. And get you a slightly better view. There you go. Still getting glitchy graphics, but the mouse movement has improved slightly. I think the lag is down to about 3 to 4 seconds now. But that's because you've got less riders on the screen. When you get more riders, it seems to get a lot worse, and it can be over 10 seconds sometimes, the lag. So these riders are working well together. Nice to see. We'll check up on them later. Let's find out what's happening further back as we watch Van Haren. He's just off the back of the riders, 40 meters. He's going to struggle. He's putting in more watts than they are, but he's going to struggle. Having said that, Derek puts in a big effort to try and pull them along. He might get back on. So we'll come back up the field once we've had a look further down and have a look at these riders. 4 riders. They're a good way behind those riders in front, Van Haren. So not likely that they're going to catch. We're not going to bother with the bots was the word I was looking for. My brain is fried, folks. What's sheared? Being caught by these other 2 riders and Norberto the bot. I mean, bots can be really useful for pacing sometimes, but my feeling is if you've got so many riders online, you don't really need the bots. And I don't think they add anything to the race, to be honest. But that's just a personal thing. I ran a lot of, there's Keith, I ran a lot of group rides for Team 3R when I started here on RGT using bots, and they were perfect because it meant that we never had riders riding on their own in the group rides unless they wanted to. There was always a bot because I programmed them at different paces, and there was always a bot that somebody could ride with. Okay. Graham looks like he's slowed down slightly, but he's still doing well above the recommended FTP. I don't think he's answered. Keith asked him what his FTP was, and I don't think I've seen an answer from him. So perhaps he's playing dumb, can't see the messages on the screen. Every rider can see the chat on the screen, folks, unless they deliberately choose to turn it off. And by default, the chat is shown. So riders can't plead ignorance. And you saw clearly that in the case of some riders, Keith will actually speak to them in their own language. Paul Nichols, I really shouldn't go out. Yeah, Keith agrees with me. So let's go back, folks, to this group of 7. This is where the winner's going to come from. Keith agrees with me, and I'm not saying I told you so, but we agree. Me and Keith have discussed this flyer issue, and I've given Keith some tips on what to look for and what I look for when looking at performance of riders, that are clearly over the recommended watt kilos. And we've spoken about this, so it's nice that we're in agreement when I suggest that a rider shouldn't be in the event. So Candy Smet hold on to this lead he's got? He's definitely working really hard. And you can see from Smet's figures that he is a genuine rider. I would put him in the 3.2 category because he's going into the threshold pretty close to the 3.7 he's going into threshold, which tells me that he's all right. He's close to the top of the limit for this race, but he's definitely within the confines of the race, certainly. So this is a genuine effort by Smet, and he's going to have his work cut out to hold off the boys behind him, I think, as we come closer into the finish, because I do think they're going to push the pace up slightly and try and pull him back. He's doing well. He's holding them at 40 meters, and the gap's not growing. What I'm going to try and do is swing the camera around. There we go, so that we can actually try and get the group following, although the fact that it's twisting is making it more difficult. The fact that it's a twisty circuit like it is. But there you can see they've pulled it back now to 33 meters, 32. So they are pulling him back, and I don't think Smet is going to have this his own way. I think they're going to reel him in. But they can't afford to wait too long. And they've got, in fact, let's have a look at the group behind and see how they are handling this. Are they actually swapping over on the front, putting in big pushers? They need to put in small but strong pushers on the front. Yeah, they are doing. Look, you can see the figures going red. So what this means is that they're working above threshold, but they just need to do short pulls. Short, sharp. Look, you can see the red figures on screen as we watch Bayam pulling, going into the red. And this is what you have to do. They've got the gap down now to 23 meters, 24 meters. So by doing what I'm suggesting, which is basically short, sharp turns on the front, And because they're doing that, we're getting the real favourites for this race because it's actually split. They've dropped. Now, I did say I was suspecting Angela wasn't as strong as the other riders. I'm a bit surprised to see Lorette dropped off because he did look particularly strong. Don't know if he can get back, but he looked pretty strong. He's in fresh old now. And maybe not. Let's go back to the front. Yeah, it looks like Lorette has gone. So the winner is potentially going to come from these riders here. And because the pace has been lifted, it's really strung them out. There's Desmet, and he's got a 90-meter gap now. So let's see if we can swing round and watch the riders behind. That's better view. Oh, yeah. It's a bit difficult, folks, but I am trying to get the best view so that you can see the action on the road. Zoom out a little bit and then maybe we can get them all in shot. No, that's not. He's holding the gap, and what we got, 1.7 to go. So can he? And in fact, he's growing the gap slightly. We go under the 1.5 kilometer to go banner, 1.6, sorry, to go. Let's see if we can't swing round and have, there we go, that's a better view. Now I've zoomed out slightly because I want to try and see whether Clive can close up this gap. Wouldn't it be great if we had an OTR win? Because first and second are going to get disqualified, I feel, although Graham, now that he's within sight of the finish, is actually easing up, probably to try and bring his numbers under 3.2, which means he's basically sandbagging. He's definitely, I mean, he's slowing, he was doing well over 4 watt kilos, and he's now slowing to the 2s and 3. So he's definitely deliberately slowing down to come into the. Oh, having said that, he's now raising his wattage again. But this is where the action is for me. This is where the true winner of the race is going to happen, and it's going to be a 2-up sprint between these two. Now, can Clive close him down, or is Desmet going to take the win? 600 meters to go. 19, 18, 16. Oh, look at this. Look at this, folks. Let's see if we can get it on the road. I don't want to miss this. Swing it round, swing it round. There we go. Get an above view. Now, obviously, I should have the banner in front of them, but I'm going to stay with this view because I want to see whether Clive can actually close him down. 220 meters to go. This is going to be fast and furious. And even the lads behind are trying to get on terms. But this is going to come down to a sprint. Here we go. And Clive's got it. What a ride. What a ride, folks. He's got it. There we go. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Where's the finish banner? I thought this was it. I'm confused, folks. Are they not finished yet? Okay, I'm definitely confused by this. Are these two riders still racing? Have they finished? We're going to have a finish banner? All I'm looking at is the graphic that shows 0 meters remaining. You can clearly see that on the screen. So that was what I was looking at, but maybe that's not for these guys. Maybe that's for the flyer out in front that's finished. So I'm going to stay with these two. There. No. No. Come on. Come on. Don't want to lose sight of them during these winding streets. There's Graham in front of them. I think the race, yeah, the race is finished. Is it? Are they just doing a bonus lap? Yeah, the race is finished. I think Clive took the win. I'm definitely convinced because there was I'm confused rather because there didn't look to be. Yeah, it's finished now. Okay, folks. So you had it's saying Dismet, but Clive took the win, surely. There's I'm I don't know what's happening. I definitely don't know what's happening. Is it a bonus lap or what's going on here? Oh, somebody in some. Okay. I mean that's pretty poor, folks. If there was no clear finish. I was watching the remaining meters. So to my mind, Clive won it. Yeah. Oh well. No doubt Keith will sort it out. To my mind, um, Keith won that. Not Keith. Clive won that. Clive Byam won it, and Dismets came in second. Okay. Right, folks. That's it for me. I'm going to close this broadcast down. Thanks very much if you're still with me. As I say, please accept my apologies for the quality of the broadcast. It really was pretty poor, I know. But I've only recorded it as a test and B because I don't think anybody else was covering this race and I wanted to try and give Keith a little bit of help. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Please, folks, I'm getting quite a lot of views, but I'm not getting any likes on my channel. So if you're bothering to watch the videos, please hit the like button. Consider subscribing if you're not subscribed. Help me grow the channel. And I'll see you in the next one.